Okay, I think it's about 2 minutes after, so we'll go ahead and get started. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our Proposition 123 Homeownership Stakeholder webinar. My name is Andrew Paredes. I am the Director of the Office of Housing Finance and Sustainability here at the Division of Housing within the Department of Local Affairs. I thank you all for coming and attending this afternoon. A bit of housekeeping. As you can see, we are recording this webinar, so we will be able to post it for future reference. We would also like for you, if you can, to make sure that your name in the kind of participant box, appears with your full name. You may be in as an initial or something like that. We'd love to have a record of everyone who has attended. So if you're able, please change your name in your participant box to your full name. We have a number of our teammates here at Division of Housing who are standing by to monitor the chat, to collect questions. You will have time after the initial presentation to go into some breakout rooms to discuss individual programs in more depth, ask questions, provide comments. And as you will see, we also are continuing to take public feedback through our Engage DOLA website through the end of next week. So this is really an opportunity for us to present the initial program guidelines that we posted on the 31st. Go over those with you, take feedback, and answer questions where we can, and take feedback for additional consideration prior to posting our final program guidelines in May. Next slide, please, Laura. Thank you. So you can see the format that we have here is a bit of an initial webinar, followed by the opportunity to go to 3 separate breakout rooms or breakout sessions if you would like, starting at 1 o'clock. We will have 3 15-minute sessions where you can go talk more in depth about down payment assistance or construction acquisition and development or mobile home park programs. And then we'll all come back, wrap up, and give you all kind of our next steps in this process. Laura, next slide, please. So as you all know, or may know, Proposition 123 was passed by Colorado voters in 2022, and funding came online in 2023. 2023 was a hybrid year, or a half year's worth of funding. So in very round numbers, 2023 had approximately $150 to $160 million statewide for Proposition 123 programs, because it only covered a half years of sales tax collections. But starting this July of 24, we will be recipients of a full year's Prop 123 fund collections, which are estimated to be $314 million for this year. Those proceeds are split 60% going to OEDIT and our partners at CHAFA for land banking and concessionary debt and equity programs, primarily focused on affordable rental housing, with the exception of the land banking program being available both for rental and homeownership land banking opportunities. 40% of the Prop 123 funding source is earmarked for DOLA, of which half goes to the Affordable Homeownership Program, or AHOP, to support the programs we'll be talking about today. 45% of the DOLA funds go to support programs for people experiencing homelessness, and then 5% of the DOLA funds go to our coworkers at the Division of Local Government for local planning capacity grant programs. Next slide, please. So, next one, Laura. So we have begun to collect customer, stakeholder, and agency feedback dating back to December. So we posted some initial online surveys, began having conversations, I guess even as far back as last summer during our statewide engagement process, as to what these home ownership programs should look like, could look like, or you would like to look like to support the work that you all do statewide around homeownership. We've had a number of channels and continue to have channels open for feedback from our partner agencies and stakeholders. We've really picked up on themes around providing expanded and flexible funding, reducing red tape, providing small technical and maybe financial assistance to small organizations, help with multiple types of homes, everything from kind of a traditional single family home to a townhome, condo, mobile home, modular constructed home, and accessory dwelling units, as well as trying to create programs that are flexible enough to kind of meet the needs of all different types of homeowners statewide. So we have been the beneficiaries of a lot of stakeholder feedback over the last few months that we really drew upon to come up with the initial guidelines that you've seen posted for the last couple of weeks. So as I indicated, we have begun to roll out the first year's worth of Prop 123 homeownership programs. We have awarded or contracted approximately $20 million or $21 million of Prop 123 program or funds to support homeownership programs, everything from acquisition and development to down payment assistance. Our initial budget for this year was approximately $30 million. We are working on applications for another approximately $5 million of Prop 123 resource. So have about $4 million still available for applications through the end of this fiscal year, or essentially for May and June applications at the moment. Slide, please. So next we'll go over kind of our proposed guidelines and an overview of what we have posted so far. So our idea was to really have the basis for our new and expanded program ideas start with what we have been doing, what you have been doing, and what has been working, and build upon that, add things in where we're able, according to statute, to expand on those and increase the reach that we have with our homeownership funds. So the first big category is around acquisition and development. So we have a budget range for next fiscal year of $25 to $40 million. And we have increased, as we did across the board at DOH, our per unit funding guidelines to $50,000 a unit in urban areas and $55,000 a unit in rural and rural resort areas, with an eye towards being able to create the most homeownership units and opportunities possible statewide with our acquisition and development funding, really trying to move the needle on supply. We have offered or proposed that there be the ability to get bonus subsidies. So on top of, say, that $50,000 a unit, up to $5,000 additional dollars if a project incorporates one of the statewide priorities you can see listed below, in order to kind of drive and incentivize these priority areas for the state. Everything from density and transit-oriented development to energy efficiency and perhaps a development centered around or including early childhood education. In addition to that 10% subsidy bump, we are conceiving of an additional 10% for projects that utilize modular construction, really trying to further the state's goal there in incubating, creating, and sustaining an alternative construction kind of industry within the state and within our region to try and drive down those construction costs. So there is the possibility for an acquisition and development project to, say it's in an urban area, be able to access up to $60,000 a unit if it's providing, home ownership opportunities, perhaps building in energy efficiency to the development, as well as using modular construction. So there really is an opportunity to expand those per unit funding guidelines beyond just the base level that has been published. And then, one more, Laura. Thank you. Back again. We have also added in or conceived of the ability for developers, nonprofits, et cetera, to access some of these funds for land acquisition, really trying to get at having DOH funds and opportunities come in upfront in order to be catalytic and to enable a project to happen. So looking at grants for nonprofits and local governments to acquire land at the very beginning stages of a potential home ownership project. So we're really excited about that, the ability to come in early on projects and help spur other funding and kind of get a project going, let alone across the finish line. Next one, please. So in addition, we have carved out $10 to $15 million specifically for mobile home park acquisition and preservation. So these are subject to the same per unit funding guidelines that our traditional acquisition and development programs are, really with an eye towards being able to preserve that naturally occurring affordable housing in the form of mobile home parks. So this, we really envision being able to work side by side with the Mobile Home Park Act and residents' ability and rights to step in and purchase the park that they reside in when the park owner puts a park up for sale. These funds can be accessed not only by resident-owned communities, but also by nonprofits and local governments. Should those nonprofits or local governments want to step in and really try to help that resident group purchase their park, or find a strategic acquisition of a park that goes up for sale in order to preserve it and maintain that affordability for the long term. And we have designed this program to be able to be awarded in the form of either a grant or a loan, whatever is the best fit for the new ownership or acquisition entity type, be that a collection of owners or a nonprofit and local government. So really looking at this to try and be as flexible as possible and as quick as possible in order to help those acquisitions occur quickly to prevent mobile home parks from being, gobbled up by for-profit market rate developers. Next slide, please. Down payment assistance. So we've earmarked $7 to $10 million to continue and expand upon the great work that DOH and DOLA does in the down payment assistance space. We have had an eye on both simplifying and increasing the amount or the maximum loan size for these Prop 123 down payment assistance loans that our agency partners can make. In the past, we had a bit of a, I don't want to call complicated, but a multi-layered approach to what's the maximum loan size. Had to deal with 10% of the acquisition price, or the HUD looking at my partners to shake their heads where I go wrong here, but had to do with either 10% of the purchase price or of the HUD maximum loan price in certain areas or counties. Because these are state funds, we have the ability really to simplify that and just make it, up to 10% of the home's purchase price. We have also allowed and suggested that agencies can offer deferred or interest-only loans to however many of their down payment buyers they would like. In the past, we've had a limit, no more than X% of your down payment assistance grant contract can be offered with deferred loans. Well, we're proposing to take that away and put those decisions in the hands of our local partners to make the best loan and the best decision in each individual borrower's case. And then we've also proposed to add the ability to go beyond just the acquisition price for down payment assistance loans that you all will be making, by also allowing for additional funds to be lent to borrowers who want to buy a house that needs some immediate repairs. So really kind of that immediate consumer construction loan or fixer-upper type loan that an aspiring homeowner can access to both buy a house and make those upgrades or necessary repairs, up to an additional 10% on top of the acquisition price. Next slide, please. We are contemplating kind of the same expansion of our single-family owner-occupied, or SFOO, owner repair programs that we currently administer through our local partner agencies. We're proposing to take away the dollar amount cap of SFOO awards or loans that you all are making in your communities, so that whatever both a home needs and a homeowner can qualify or sustain, they're able to access through this program. We have also decided to set aside a specific $5 million chunk of this program to support accessory dwelling units. So for qualifying homeowners who either have an ADU on their property that needs repairs or would like to construct an ADU on their property. And remember, ADUs are not separate kind of subdivided units, but a separate living unit within a single family lot. So they would all be, encompassed under the kind of the one legal description, one mortgage, one SFOO loan. So that's why we've conceived this program fitting within our owner repair guidelines. But we're setting aside funds to promote both the repair and the creation of accessory dwelling units statewide, as well as kind of taking away the pilot status on our use of owner repair funds for mobile homes. So qualifying mobile homeowners, although they're not fixed to the ground and technically real estate, those mobile homeowners can access these same home repair loans just as the owner of a condo townhome or single family house can do. And then we're also conceiving of setting aside a small amount of funds, up to $5 million, to explore some pilot program ideas. First of which is to support a first mortgage program to assist purchasers of mobile homes. Again, this is more like a kind of a chattel or almost like a car loan or personal property loan, not a traditional real estate mortgage. But what we'd like to do is start a pilot program that can offer aspiring mobile home purchasers the same type terms and interest rates that traditional home purchase borrowers can access through this program, as well as offering some small $10,000 and under grants to small nonprofit, local government, and home ownership developers who need this money to really get a project started. These grants could be used to do kind of that upfront due diligence, third-party reports, attorney fees, architect, engineering type upfront costs that sometimes are tough for smaller agencies to come up with in order to either start a project or do the work needed to decide whether that's a good idea or a viable project. So we're setting aside some of these funds, kind of risk-based almost, to really try and get things started for smaller agencies who need that, who don't have the balance sheets to support that type of kind of at-risk capital before a project really gets started. Next slide, please. I know we're running a little bit ahead of schedule. I think I will take a look at a couple of my coworkers before we get into the breakout rooms, just to see if there are any chat questions that are more general in nature, that we can do some Q&A here before we get to the breakout rooms, where everybody will have a chance to speak up and have more of a conversation.
We do have a few questions I feel we could answer before we break out.
Great.
The first one from John Lovell. What is the difference between the purchase of land versus Chappa's land acquisition funding?
John, I don't know that there is too much difference, other than the DOH AMI requirements are maybe different than CHAFA's, as well as the DOH program is only for home ownership opportunities, as opposed to the CHAFA land banking program for either home ownership or rental. But we do see this a little bit as kind of side by side. But our program will be built out to serve up to, by statute, 100% AMI home ownership opportunities and limited to home ownership. And before we go on to the next question, that does remind me that, as you all may know, or we didn't go over, these Proposition 123 funds by statute are only able to be granted or lent or used in communities, either counties, municipalities, or other local government jurisdictions who have opted in to Proposition 123. Our Engage DOLA website has a list of all of the local communities who have opted in. So if the community, the city, the town, the county, that the prospective piece of real estate or mobile home is going to be in has opted in, then any nonprofit or local government or housing provider eligible can access these funds to spend them on a project in that opted in jurisdiction. If a local community has not yet opted in, they have a chance to do so every year before the November 1st deadline. Applications are accepted by DOLA up until November 1st for communities who want to opt in to have their residents potentially be beneficiaries of Prop 123. Those applications are reviewed and, if approved, take effect on November 1st. And you can be in effect for, this year will be 2 years, next year will be 1 year. And then after that, they'll be able to be applied for on a 3-year cycle. So that is very important in terms of the projects or beneficiaries you all are considering must live in or must be constructed in an opted-in community.
Before I go to the next question, just one thing I want to jump on that I think will answer a handful of questions in here is the AMI limit. We are capped at 100% AMI for all of our programs except for DPA, which allows up to 120%. That is per statute, and so that is not something that we can adjust. It's what was voted upon when this went and was approved by the voters. Next question, what about mobile home park funding for new mobile home park development? Is that something we are considering?
I think I would love to have that question and conversation within the breakout room for sure, so that we can get all of the ins and outs. But by and large, at DOH, we have approached development, say land acquisition plus construction, the same as we have acquisition of existing units. So my gut tells me that's something we'd love to talk about, and I can't think of any prohibitions, but also don't want to make a black and white decision, at the moment. But please do bring that question and the finer points to the mobile home park breakout room.
All right. I'll kind of jump to a lot of these will be great topics to bring to your breakout groups. How many more would you like, Andrew?
Let's do one more, and then we'll go over the breakout room process.
Okay. Let's see. All right. Does the ownership funding allow for loans or only grants?
So the funding for acquisition and development of home ownership opportunities by statute are in the form of grants. And another great question for the ACT development breakout room, but you will see that the eligible applicants are community partners, nonprofits, housing authorities, local governments, and the funding are in the form of grants, so they will not be loans. So from there, I think we will talk about the breakout room format. Ariel, would you like to cover this?
Yeah, absolutely. So just momentarily, each of you will have 4 breakout groups to choose from. We have broken it out to cover a group for SFOO, down payment assistance, mobile home parks, and acquisition. And I think, let's see, sorry, I always bunker that one. Our for sale development. So you will have 15 minutes in each group. We will rotate 3 times. At about a 2-minute mark, you'll get a notification with a countdown beginning that you have 2 minutes to wrap up any comments, final thoughts within that breakout group. We will all reconvene in this main room, and then we will allow you to choose the next group you would like to attend. After we've done all 3 rotations, we'll all gather back here and wrap up our final thoughts and talk about next steps. And if you have any issues or technical difficulties, please leave your comments in the chat and we will try to assist as quickly as possible. But I will go ahead and open up these breakout rooms right now. So you should see a drop down below breakout rooms and ones that you can, and then you're welcome to choose whichever one of the 4 you would like to start in.
Ariel, are we all coming back? Is that?
Yeah, everyone's making our way back. It looks like we're almost all here.
Awesome. Well, I want to just kind of wrap us up by, again, thanking everybody for their time, their participation. And Laura, if you have kind of that last slide there that is next steps. Yep. So certainly want to encourage you all to please go, in addition to this session, to the stakeholder survey and put in your written feedback. We heard in a number of rooms a number of comments that were the same. You know, for example, a very popular one was the subsidy per unit is not enough, and you know, and that is contrary to what we originally laid out, but good feedback that we want to get. And if it is indeed not enough for a wide, you know, a large number of groups representing a wide variety of communities across the state, we really want to know that so that we can, if we need to, go back to the drawing board and really define why it is that we need to change some of these originally published guidelines. So that's really a plug to please also go in and give us your written feedback so that we have that on the record. We did, of course, record this session, recorded the questions in the chat as well as in the breakout room so that we can, you know, have those on the record as well as a record of everybody who attended. So this certainly is and has been very valuable for us to gather your feedback before we publish final guidelines. We will be publishing those final guidelines by the end of May, so that the month of June, we will be able to really have initial conversations with potential applicants with an eye towards initial applications being accepted July 1. And if we work backward from there on our standard DOH application process, that would mean a letter of interest or an LOI by June 15th. So we are really going to have the final guidelines published by the end of May so that you have time to review them, consider any applications you want to put in July 1st, and then go through our LOI and kind of pre-app technical assistance process with your regional housing development specialist. With that, I think we will wrap up again with thanks to everybody for your participation. Oh, that's what I wanted to do. Ariel or Laura, you know what? I'm going to try to do it myself. I'm not the quickest typer. Please type our email addresses, Ariel's, Andrew, Ashley's, and mine in the chat. If there was a room you didn't get to or a question that you have that's kind of ad hoc that might not fit that Engage DOLA site, I welcome you to please send an email directly to me or to Ariel Cisneros, our portfolio manager, or Andrew Ashley, our housing development manager. We're happy to take your questions, your feedback one-off as well, and continue to engage in conversation. So we'll be sure to get those 3 email addresses in the chat. If you want, stick around, write them down, and feel free to correspond with us as well. But otherwise, we will sign off and thank you all and wish you a great afternoon. Thanks, everybody.